everybody, and welcome back to my channel. This is the video you guys have been waiting for anxiously, and I really appreciate you guys waiting around for it. Thank you so much for being here. Anyways, this is my wild and crazy birth story, and I say that because it was wild and crazy and beautiful. Spirit fingers. Sorry, I'm a dork. Anyways, I make myself laugh too much. All right, so my birth story was wild. It was crazy, but it was absolutely perfect for exactly what I needed. So I had what is called a I'm going to say this wrong. Precipitous labor. It is where you have a very quick labor and delivery, and I've never had that before. My last two were over 20 hours, and then there were long labors, and so that was what we were expecting, and we do not have that. So yeah, but this labor was absolutely perfect for me and perfect for what I needed in the moment, during the time, because I had honestly been kind of scared of labor this time, and I was nervous and I wasn't sure what to expect, not for like the labor part or the contractions part, or like, 'cause I know what they're going to be. It was because I didn't have my hubby, and that was really hard for me to. I'm gonna cry. Lordy day, don't cry. All right. So, my husband's always been there for me. Why am I gonna cry? Let's not do this, please. My husband's always been there for me for all of my labors. And he was my person, my rock, my everything, and we had this thing where I would hook my thumbs into his belt loops of his pants, and I would rest my chest on his head, and we would just rock, and we would, he would just just deep breaths, and, the breathing, and like my cues and everything that I needed. And he was my rock, my everything for everything. He was my person, and, Lordy day. Sorry, I didn't think that I was gonna cry today. Whew. All right. Anyways, I wasn't gonna have him this time, and I know Selena was gonna be there to support me, and my doula Coral was gonna be there to support me, and together they were gonna make an amazing team. And I didn't have my person, and I was kind of scared, to be honest. So that's why I say this labor worked out perfectly how I needed it to. And yeah, part of us wants to be like, maybe he had a hand to play in that, because I've never had a fast labor before. And, I'm actually thankful for it the way that it did happen. I'm going to stop rambling and let's get into this story. I'm so sorry. Okay. So basically what happened is I woke up in the morning, and it was like 4:40 in the morning when that's when I chose to look at the clock. I had been feeling something about it. I wasn't sure what I was feeling. My last two labors, my water actually broke while I was laying in bed. For some reason, then those nights, I had just decided to put a towel on the bed, and magically, I know somehow I intuitively, subconsciously knew what was going to happen, but I didn't know consciously, if that makes sense. Anyways, so I was feeling something. It felt more like period cramps though, and I've never had contractions feel like period cramps because of my last two. When my water breaks, my contractions are hard and fast, like every minute, lasting for a minute. I don't get a break in between. So my labors are usually fairly intense. So that's why when I had this, I was like, what is happening? So my contractions that I was feeling, I will get up for a moment so you can see, this is my belly button, so ignore that. It felt like period cramps. So it was like right down here in my pelvis, and they would tighten like this, but it was like tightening near where the baby's head was, and it just sat there for a moment, and then it would really release. And I wasn't really sure, like I mentioned, what was going on or whatever. So when I looked at the clock, it was 4:40. And I decided to get up, and I was like, okay, is this Braxton Hicks? What's going on? Because with Braxton Hicks, if it is that, they'll go away in about, it usually takes about half an hour, at least in my experience. Last time when I had Braxton Hicks, it took about half an hour for them to go away. So I came downstairs, I did a little bit of cleaning up, whatever, just did some dusting and swept the floors, basically. And then I was like, I'm going to go have a shower and see if maybe the water will help, and maybe they'll go away with that. So I went and had a shower, did some ladyscaping, if you know what I mean, and tried to shave my legs. Kind of really did a really crappy job at it, by the way. And I started timing my contractions at 4:55. Just to see, to monitor if they were regular or not. By the time I got out the shower, I was like, this is definitely labor. Like, no doubt about it. So I called everybody who I needed to call. I called Selena, and I was like, it was their anniversary, which you guys already know. It was amazing. I was like, happy anniversary. You're ready to have a baby? Like, let's have a baby today. It was perfect because I knew it was her anniversary, and I wanted to do something special for her. And, well, there we have it, the baby. And it was, I called my best friend Rachel because she was coming down. She lives about an hour and a half to 2 hours away from me. So she was going to come down to watch my son while I was in the hospital. And then my doula, I called her as well. She lives a bit farther. She actually lives fairly close, about 15, 20 minutes away, I think. Not too far. But I called her and let her know. We were all like, I'm feeling good. I'm okay. I don't need anything right now. Like, I'm comfortable. Like, I'm managing. Everything's good. I called my midwife to let her know. And because we were expecting a long labor, she was going to come into my home and check me and stuff like that. So after I got my shower, I put on my birthing gown. I picked out my my clothes that I was going to go home in the hospital with. And then, sorry, I'm trying to think, and my brain's going a million miles a minute right now. My story is going to be all over the place, so hopefully you can piece the puzzles together. I'll be jumpy. Anyways, so I got out of the shower. I made sure my hospital bag was fully packed. I laid back down. I decided to lay back down in bed after I had called everybody. I was like, no, I'm just going to lay down for a little bit and relax and just kind of chill. So I laid back in bed, and while I was laying there, I had still having a few contractions. And I was just breathing, and I was talking to my husband, and I was like, hey, babe, this is time. I'm in labor. I need you here. I just want to make sure you know that I'm in labor. I'm going to need you, blah, blah, blah. And it was cool because as I was talking to him, like this calm, just kind of like, it's hard to describe it, but it just this amazing calm feeling kind of washed over me. And it was just like, in that moment, I know it was him. You know what I mean? Just that. It's okay, we got this. And to me, it was kind of like the calm before the storm, literally, because just a few minutes after I felt that, not even a few minutes, like maybe 1 minute, my midwife called and it's like, hey, I'm here. I'm like, okay, cool. I grabbed my bag, which I'd put in the hallway, and I come downstairs, and we go and she checks me. At the time when she checked me, and this is around 7:30, I want to say, she checked me, and I was 3 to 4 centimeters dilated, and I was still thick. So I texted that to Selena and everybody, and just like, hey, we're good. And we were standing like right over, not by the table, but like just past the table there. And, I was like, hey, how am I in active labor? Like whatever. And she's just kind of like, you're right on the cusp of it. I'm like, okay, cool. And she was getting ready to walk out the door. Like she was right there, just finishing signing the book and about to head out. And then my water just went, it was literally like something from the movies. Okay. Thankfully, I had put on a diaper, which is like a Depends, or what I call them diapers. For myself personally, for other people, I call them briefs because in my care of work. Anyways, off topic again. So I had put on a diaper just in case my water broke, and so it broke, and I was like, oh crap, because I was like, my water just broke, and it was just it filled up the diaper that I was wearing and was leaking out from the sides, dripping on the floor. And I was just like instantly like, huh. Like I'm not sure if I just felt the baby's head like hit against my cervix that much harder or what, but it was a lot more painful, the contractions, and I felt a little bit more pressure down there. And the midwife was just like, are you okay? Like, are you feeling pressure? I was like, yeah. So we grabbed actually that blanket that's right behind me, laid it on the couch, and she checked me right here, and I was already 4 to 5 centimeters and thin, like within like 5-10 minutes. Like it was crazy. And then so after there was so much stuff that happened. I have a difficult time remembering exactly what to what. But basically she's like, holy crap, like you're going quick. And so she called another midwife to just talk to them, because where she had, I mean, I'm not sure if she parked in visitors here or visitors. I'm sorry, up there, but she wouldn't have access to her stuff because she didn't bring it in, because it was just supposed to be a quick check, and that was it. So she called another midwife, and then they were talking on the phone, and then as things were progressing for me quickly, she realized I wasn't going to make it to the hospital. So she calls 911, she gets an ambulance, she tells them all the details, and I messaged her and was like, hey, they're getting an ambulance for me. Whatever, it's, and I was actually having a hard time talking or anything at this point, so I passed the phone over to the midwife, and she did the talking for me. But it was interesting because in each of my contractions, I was getting dizzy. Like, I kept getting dizzy, and I was like, oh, I don't feel good. Like, this wasn't a normal labor for me at all. Like, I was just getting dizzy, because my plan was to get up and eat and chill and relax at home as long as I could. And then when everybody gets here, we're going to go to the hospital. Before my water even broke, I talked to my midwife, and I was like, I'm really tired. I didn't sleep like crap. I mean, I didn't sleep like crap. I slept like crap. That whole night, I had felt the baby's head on my cervix. Like, I could just feel him just sitting there on my cervix, and it was not comfortable, and I just didn't sleep well. So I was like, when we get to the hospital, can I get an epidural so that I can sleep? And then maybe when I get up and I'm laboring, we can just take it out or whatever. But we didn't even get to finish that conversation before my labor broke and chaos ensued. Also, what I forgot to say earlier, again, backtracking, I apologize. After she checked me, I was wiping myself, because they use like lube and stuff to check you to make sure, whatever. Anyways, my mucus plug had come out as I was wiping myself, and I was like, oh, there it is. Fast forward again back to her calling the ambulance. This is gonna be fun for you guys to watch. When she's calling the ambulance, and then like I was saying, I was really having a lot of dizzy spells in between. I don't remember much of me getting from here to the ambulance. I know I was like stopping to have contractions. I had to stop in the middle of my front lawn, okay, to have a contraction. And I live in a townhouse complex. There's a big old huge apartment building here. There's townhouses all around me. There was this guy sitting there in a white car, just like staring over at us, like, what is happening, kind of a thing, because I have a paramedic on both sides of me, and I'm just like, they wanted me to walk, because I think they were going to bring the stretcher up, and I was like, no, I can walk, I'm okay. And we're in the lawn, and I'm just like, oh, and so I was already at that point where you have to do like, oh, like those deep sounds when you're, anyways, yeah, I was having contractions in the middle of the front lawn, and then I finally got onto the stretcher, and then they put me in the ambulance, and we were driving to the hospital, and we didn't have the lights on at first, and then they were like, are you feeling pressure? Like, are you okay or whatever? And I was like, yeah, there's definitely pressure. They checked me, and they said that I was at 7. And after that, they put the lights on, because we're all like, I don't want to have a baby in an ambulance. And they put the lights on, and we get to the hospital, and we're going up to labor and delivery, and the nurses are asking me questions, just like, hey, like, basically like who I am, why I'm there, like, la da da. Obviously I'm in labor, but they were like, why did your midwife call? Why did they send you here? Why didn't you go to Markham Stouffville? And I'm like, hello, I'm about to have a baby. I'm like, I'm here because this is the closest hospital to my house, and blah blah blah. But yeah, anyways, we get into the labor and delivery room. They get me off the stretcher and try to get me onto the hospital bed, and I'm having contractions in between those two. So I'm just like, I have to wait a minute. I can't walk right now. I just had to stop and have a contraction. Then I was able to get on the bed. The doctor came in and he checked me at that point. I can't remember if I was 8 or 9, but I was pretty far along. And then my midwife Marnie comes in, and she comes flying in, and she's there. She was there when they were doing all of their questioning and chaos and all of that stuff. They asked me if I wanted gas, so they gave me the gas, and I did take a couple from that. And then my doula came in right when it was time to push. So just before it was time to push, my body started pushing automatically on its own. They were like, she's pushing. I think she's pushing. And then they were like, oh no. So they look, and there's the head. And they were like, his head's there. Don't push. We have to get the doctor. So they called the doctor in the room, and they're like, okay, let's go. and the baby's heart rate dropped for a moment. And they're like, okay, his heart rate's dropping, you gotta get him out now, like, let's go. Like, I wasn't able to take a breath between contractions. I was just like, I had to go. And it sucked because it hurt, and I've always wanted to have a natural labor, like all natural, and I got that. Like, this was so painful. That is the cat. I don't know if you heard that. The cat playing with something upstairs. Anyways, I could feel the doctor's fingers, like, doing the motion that they do to make sure that you don't rip and tear and stuff. And I felt that. And that actually hurt almost more. So that sucked. But yeah, basically, my doula got there right as it was time to push. And we got the baby out, and they kept asking me to hold my own legs, which I was struggling with so hard because I had my hands on the hospital bed on there were no railing things there, and I was just gripping onto that, and I was like, I can't hold my legs, this hurts so much. Like, I just had a death grip on these hospital bars trying to push the baby out, and eventually I had to grab my legs, which sucked. But we got him out. So yeah, and then right after he was out, he was on my chest for a quick minute, and they were like, okay, we gotta take him to get his vitals, and we're like, okay, so they take him and they put him over to the thingamajigger, and right after that, that's when Adam came in first, and then Selena came right afterwards, and they got to see their baby. And I just, real quick, before they had, after they cleaned him and they were doing all that stuff, I was like, make sure you give him back to me, please, so I can pass him to her. So they gave him back to me. And I had to push my placenta out. That hurt too, man. Normally I have epidurals and I don't usually feel it. Like, I thought I had not the last one, but the one before that, because the epidural had worn out. So I still felt some stuff, but not at all like I felt this time. And so I could feel, like, I had to push the placenta out, and I could feel him, like, pushing on my stomach, and that hurt too. But yeah, so when they got the placenta out, and then afterwards I had to, like, it took me a minute to, like, get myself to sit up, and then I was just like, congratulations, and I passed her the baby, and it was amazing, because it was just like, I got that moment that I wanted, you know what I mean? Just being able to just be like, here you go. Like, it was amazing, it was incredible. And as Selena sat over in the chair with her and Adam over there, just staring at him because he was adorable and is adorable. And me and my doula look at each other, and I'm starting to get teary and emotional. And she's like, are you okay? I was like, I can't remember if I said yes or no, but I kind of cried, and she cried, and I was like, I did it. I'm like, I actually did it. And it was just like, I was happy because I did it. And the labor was so fast, I didn't have time to miss my husband, if that makes sense. I didn't have time to be sad or emotional, or everything just happened. And that's why I say it was perfect, because everything happened the way it needed to be. So yeah, while we were still in the room after I had him, Selena had asked me a question, and she asked me what I would prefer. Do I prefer the fast labor or the slow labor? At first I wasn't really sure what I'd prefer, but looking back now, I definitely prefer the fast labor. Like, maybe give it an extra hour next time, so I'm a little bit more prepared. But the fast labor was fast, and it was wild and crazy, but it was awesome, and it was, like, done so quickly, and it wasn't drawn out and long, and I was able to, like, chill after it all. It's just like, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe it if you haven't, like, done it, but it was perfect, and it was great. And yeah, so that is pretty much my birth story. I'm sorry for such a long video. I'm talking a lot because, you know, I'm a chatterbox. If I'm trying to make sure I get all the details in there for you as well. But yeah, so after I had the baby, basically they wanted to keep me for 24 hours because of how fast everything went. And that's, I haven't stayed in a hospital for 24 hours since I had the C-section with the twins. So thankfully my best friend stayed the night, and she was cool with it and told her work and stuff. So yeah, that is it. We are good. Everybody is healthy and happy and doing well. My healing is going great so far. I started wearing this belly binder on Tuesday. No, I can't remember if it was this week or last week. I have a goldfish memory. But everything is healing well so far. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. and I'll see you in my next video. Have a great day, morning, evening, whatever time you're watching this. Goodbye.